the one thing that really has been the most rewarding is the difference between chasing business and attracting business. Does that make sense? You can attract business to come to you, or you can chase down business. And we spend a lot of time chasing down business, right? Generating leads, chasing them down, trying to get them, convincing them to do business with us and that sort of thing. And realistically, what you really want to do is you want to attract the business to you. You want to attract the business. And what this first presentation is about, it's about differentiation. And it's about how to position yourself in your marketplace as an expert advisor and get your clients to want to do business with you and to literally move mountains to get the opportunity to do business with you. And I mailed out a piece that I'm going to be showing you here in a second to my entire database, actually, and to the entire Chamber of Commerce list, which is, I'll talk more about that in a little bit and the importance of it. And a past client of mine sent me an email this morning, or last night, I guess it came in, and the headline was Expert Advisor. And he read the marketing piece that I sent out, and his name is Jack Connor. He runs the Carmike Cinema in Lawton, and I sold him a house. It's back when I used to work with buyers, so I mean it had to have been like 2003, somewhere in that range, 2003, maybe 2004, probably 2003 would be my guess. And he said, as I was reading this, this marketing piece, I had to chuckle because, I remember the first agent that we hired, and I'd forgotten that he had hired another agent and it went bad or whatever, and he ended up finding me, and we did the transaction and it went well, and we sold his house and he bought another one and this and that and the other. So, but it was what was interesting, is getting that email from someone that long ago was, in his mind, I'm positioned as an expert, and that's a really important fact. That whenever someone views you as an expert, whenever someone views you and you're positioned in that way, your ability to charge your fee happens automatically. There's no question whether you're going to collect your fee or not. There's no question whether or not they're going to do business with you above your competition. But you're just in a much better position. And I've been in the listing appointment and met with buyers when they don't see the value. Has anybody ever had that problem where people just don't see the value? It's hard in this business to demonstrate what our value is, because it's a service. It's hard for someone to see visibly what it is that we do that's valuable. So positioning is very important, and this presentation is all about positioning. It's all about how to differentiate yourself in the marketplace. And I've come to the conclusion that I do not want to be a real estate agent, because real estate agents suck. I'm serious. Look at the industry statistics, and we'll go over some of this here in the presentation. I mean, we're not a really respected breed, are we? Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to differentiate yourself in the marketplace, and we have a vision for what we feel, and what we feel everyone in this room has an opportunity to be a part of is to change the entire real estate industry. And I'm very, very excited to share this presentation with you. It's going to be a lot of fun, I can guarantee you that. So I got to learn where to point this.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them. Because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Does anybody remember that commercial? You might reveal your age. I didn't ever see that commercial. It was in the 80s when that came out. That was Apple's campaign back in the 1980s. Did Steve Jobs change the world? Dang right he did. I read some interesting quotes about Steve Jobs that I thought was worth sharing. It really, I've become a Mac guy. For whatever reason, I always thought there was all these reasons why I couldn't use a Mac, and I found that I was just ridiculously misled. So I have all Mac and all Apple, everything now. So, some of the things that he did. Am I pushing the buttons, or is someone else pushing the buttons? Where do I point this thing? Did it go back? Okay, so just looking at what Steve Jobs changed, and if you've ever watched, has anybody ever watched Game Changers on Bloomberg? If you get a chance, go to Bloomberg.com and watch. They're all online. You can watch them. It's called Game Changers, and it's a little interviews they do, or little stories or whatever, biographies they do on people who are like just completely changed in the industry, whatever the industry may have been. Really interesting, really cool interviews. And they had one on Steve Jobs, and I was watching, this whole thing, and I was pretty impressed with all the things I didn't know about Steve Jobs and Apple and all this. And this was probably about a year ago. And he changed the way we communicate with the iPhone. He actually was the one that pioneered Disney's Pixar when Toy Story came out originally. I don't know if anybody, did y'all know that? I didn't know that. So I thought that was interesting. He also, changed the way we listen to music with the iPod, with the iPod in our pocket, and he completely revolutionized the entire music industry, where now everyone is buying their music online through iTunes, and he just completely changed the entire, turned the record industry upside down. So, and I'll get into this a little bit more, there are industries that get completely wiped out through innovation and change, right? And when you look at our industry, the thing that concerns me the most is that would our clients pay our fee? Would the buyers that you do business with, would they be willing to write a check for your fee tomorrow if they had to? Do you feel like that you have a compelling enough reason that a buyer would say, you know what, yeah, I'm going to write you a check for that 3% commission happily for you to do your job? And I don't think that we can say convincingly that that's the case. If something were to happen and to turn this industry on its head, we might all be in trouble. And I really believe that the industry is in trouble, and we're going to talk about that some more here in a second. So some of the quotes that Steve Jobs has that I liked. My favorite things in life don't cost any money. It's really clear that the most precious resource we have is time. And I like that quote for a couple of reasons. I've been fortunate. I've been real lucky. And the opportunity that you have in this business is not something everyone has. You can be wealthy, you can do whatever it is that you want to accomplish, but the time is what's going to pass regardless. That's what's going to go on, whether you decide to take action or you don't take action, whether you do anything at all or not, time is going to pass. And, this business has given me a wonderful lifestyle. I love real estate. I wouldn't do anything else. But what it's really given me is freedom. And that's what it's all about. This isn't about just selling a bunch of houses, being the #1 in your marketplace. What we really want is we want freedom. We want the time to do what we want to do, when we want to do it, with the people that we want to do it with. And we want to have that choice. So, all of this is, none of this matters. Nothing that we share with you today is going to matter unless you implement. You all know that. So, in the back of your program, there's something that's been very helpful to us, to me specifically, as going to conference after conference after conference, which I continue to do outside of the real estate industry today, is taking good notes, keeping a list of the things that you want to implement. Mike's going to be talking about strategy and being strategic, and Jay Abraham's going to talk about strategy. Being strategic is the biggest difference in your success or not being successful. It's knowing what steps you need to take in what order and how it's going to impact your business. And that's probably the most valuable thing that we can teach you if you leave here today, is changing how you think. Learning to think strategically and not tactically, not just going back and working, but going back and working on the right things in the right order. So, make sure that you go to the back of the binder and you're taking notes of the things that you want to implement, the things, the ahas. Put deadlines on those. And I think the forms that are in there are the ones that we actually use in our business. So, that'll help you to go back and prioritize the things that you want to work on and put it into your business. And I think that'll help you to get over the hump of going back and just getting tossed back into your business and going back to doing it. And then, taking a step back and really implementing the right things in the right order. It'll be a difference maker for you for sure. So, time is passing whether we like it or not. Remembering that you're going to die is the best way I know to avoid a trap of thinking you have something to lose. It's another good quote. I like this one. I want to put a ding in the universe. He put a ding in the universe, all right. This guy, I believe that when looking back, as time passes, this will be the person who changed the person that changed our world more than anyone that's alive or that dies in our lifetime. When you really go back and think about it, as time goes on, I believe that's how Steve Jobs is going to be viewed, because he made such huge, huge changes in the way that we do things. The guy was just a visionary. This thing is really slow. So if I bounce around a lot, that's why. I don't know what I'm doing with this thing. When I was 17, I read a quote that went something like, "If you live each day as if it was your last, someday you'll most certainly be right." It made a impression on me, and since then, for the last 33 years, I've looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today was the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do today? Whenever the answer has been no, too many days in a row, I need to change something, right? So if things aren't the way you want them to be, if things aren't where you want them to be at the end of the day, and you're not enjoying what you do, then you just need to change something. You know, something that another quote that I think means a lot to me is that, man, if you haven't figured it out, I mean, if there's something that's not, that you're not able to accomplish, there's a problem you haven't solved, you just haven't learned something yet. That's all it boils down to. I promise you this, and when Mike was telling the story about how we had Bart Queen with Speak America at Lake Texoma, and he was going through, asking us all these questions, and we're throwing out all this stuff, and like he's really trying to pull out of us what is it that we can share that will really make the biggest impact? What is it that really the big ahas that made the difference for us in our business and in our lives? Why is it that we were able to succeed when so many don't? And when he's asking all these questions and he's throwing up all these stickies all over the board, it came down to, for me, I was like, man, this is just not powerful enough. It was basically seek out the best to be the best. If you want, that was what we came up with. Seek out the best to be the best. It's that simple. And I said, if you really take my success and you lay, he asked questions for hours, and these sticky notes are all over the walls. And it came down to what I do best is I'm not the smartest kid in class. I just always sit next to him. Has anybody ever heard that quote before? That's mine. I own that one. Right? I'm not the smartest kid in class. I just always sit next to him. When I have a problem, I ask the question, who's the best in the world at this? And I go to them, and I pay them whatever the hell I got to pay them, and I get the answer. That's how I get to point A to point B. Maybe that's crazy, but it works, okay? There's always somebody that has done whatever your problem is. They've already accomplished it. They've already overcame it. You find that person, and you take as much as you can. And I think you'll see a lot of that in today's presentations, that we really like to share the things that are like huge ahas for us and people that we've met and different products and whatnot. There's not a product in the lobby out there that we don't use. You know, we turn away vendors for this conference. There are tools out there that we don't believe in. One of them starts with a Z. Has anybody had a bad experience? I'm just saying, because they've been out there telling everybody that this product is something that we back up. I ain't never used that product. I ain't using it. We ain't gonna endorse it. When I use it, then we can talk about us and endorsing it. But it's got to work. That's just how we do things. If it doesn't work and we don't know how it works, then we don't want to put our stamp of approval on it. So, something my good friend Curtis Johnson said to me, and I love this quote, and I can't remember where you told me you got it, Curtis. No, maybe Dan. Money moves to difference, not similarity. I think that's a huge, huge thing to understand, and I want you to write that one down, because that's going to be something that we talk about for the rest of the time that I'm up here. Money moves to difference, not similarity. We are an industry that's very similar. The consumer does not know the difference between you and the brand new agent and the agent that's been in the business 50 years, do they? They don't know the difference. And something that our buddy Frank Kern said, does anybody follow Frank Kern at all? Wild man? Frank is an internet marketer. He broke the internet marketing world record with I think it was $23.8 million day in sales of one product online. You think he could teach us something about marketing online? Absolutely. We've learned a lot from this guy. He's a very smart guy. But he said, money never disappears. It only changes hands. So when people talk about how bad the economy is and money and this and that and the other, I don't know about y'all, but I saw more $200,000 cars outside of this hotel and in this little area in the last 24 hours than you would never know there's something going on in the economy. That's for sure. So money, it never disappears. It only changes hands. I promise you this. And I see that I saw an email that came through the other day, and it was about I think that whoever it was had made a comment about, the sales were dramatically down in their marketplace, and that it was just impossible to survive, and da 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 da. Well, so I asked the question, well, how many sales were there in your marketplace? Well, I don't know. So they pulled it up, and it was like 28,000 sales in the last 12 months. Okay, yeah, it may not have been 45,000 sales like it was 2 years ago, but you still have an opportunity to get a piece of 28,000 sales. So, it's all relative. And in my marketplace, we've seen the market drop. Kitchens is who I always point to when I need statistics, but he's back there somewhere. John Kitchens, who runs the office in Lawton. And, statistically, I think the market's down, what is it, John, 18 to 20% this year? About the same as last year? About the same as the year before that? So our market is like 20%, 20%, 20% the last 3 years. So in my marketplace, we have 11% market share. 1 out of every 9 sales that happens in my marketplace is one of our sales. That's how much of a commanding presence we have in the marketplace. I never really thought about it that way. 1 out of every 9 sales. For every 9 signs you see, 1 of mine is on the ground. For every closing you go to, 1 out of 9 of those is I'm involved in. So, and not 9 sales like do 2 sides, 1 out of every 9 transaction sides. So, there's a big percentage of the market. So we typically kind of ride with the tide. We go up with the market, we go down with the market. It's just part of it. But there's more deals out there than you probably realize, and there's more opportunity than you ever would have imagined. Another thing I want you to remember, and this is another writer downer, is money moves to celebrity. This is something that by accident I engineered in my business, and I'm going to show you. One of our major goals in this conference is for you to walk away. We talk about this all the time. The hardest thing is for us to transfer what it is we've done to something you can push a button and have and do in your business, right? Like you got to go back and do a lot of stuff, or you got to go back and create something, or write the copy, or do all of the find somebody to print it up and do all that stuff. That's the challenging part with a lot of what it is that we teach, right? So like it's a great idea, we know it works, but the limiting step is, my gosh, you got to go back and do a lot of work to get it duplicated, right? So what it boils down to is, at the end of the day, what I believe is coming, and I think you will believe by the end of the day, at the end of this 3 days, is that the death of the real estate agent is coming. And statistically, the average real estate agent only sold 7. It's actually 5. I got the new NAR report. It's 5. 5 homes is the average real estate agent. I was actually telling my son this story, and he's 13 years old, ornery as can be. And he doesn't know any better, but he was asking me, what we were doing this conference and this and that. He was being a little bit inquisitive about it, and I told him, I said, the average real estate agent only sells 5 homes a year. I guess I was practicing on him. I don't know, but he said, that's it. I could do that. And I laughed, and I was like, you know what? I think you probably could. You know what I mean? I think he's 13 years old, but I believe he could probably throw down 5 sales in a year. If you really worked at it, I don't think that would be too hard to do, right? So it's pretty pathetic. This industry is definitely not great statistics. So can we keep the slides on this TV screen down here instead of changing back to video? Is that possible? Because I have ADD, in case y'all didn't know that. I'm heavily medicated for that. But otherwise, we'll be here all day. It'll be like the 4-hour presentation. Okay, so really, from a knowledge and experience standpoint, the average in Oklahoma, you know how long it takes to get licensed? 90 hours. That's it, 90 hours. So that's not a lot of time when you're talking about selling the largest asset, the largest investment most people make in their lifetime. 90 hours. That's ridiculous. It's amazingly easy to become a real estate agent. So that doesn't lend to being viewed as an expert, does it? Or a professional? I don't think so. So some of the other statistics, and this is what I find interesting. This is the only industry of its kind that you will find that you'll ever see that I found, and we looked at a lot of P&Ls and a lot of different business models and this and the other. And when it comes down to our individual businesses, what has happened is the brokerages have given us all the split, right? So the brokerage is operating on, in any particular office, maybe 15, 20, 25%. For those of you who own brokerages and have lots of agents, you know that your margins are pretty tight, right? You don't have a lot of money to invest because number one thing on your P&L is the cost of sales. Okay, and on your cost of sales, this would be the equivalent of paying the person at McDonald's at the register to, giving them 50 cents out of every hamburger, or 50% of the revenue from a hamburger for making the sale. You would never pay somebody at the register, hey, listen, I want you to ring up all these sales, and we're going to give you 50% of everything that everything that you're able to do here at this register today. That would not be a very good business model for McDonald's, and that's unfortunately how the real estate industry has evolved ever since RE/MAX brought up the 100% model and started doing, basically becoming a landlord essentially as a RE/MAX broker. Not that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying I'm painting you a picture to see the reason why the number one thing that should be managed in the transaction isn't managed, and it's left up to us to figure this out. So when it comes down to every single real estate brand, there's not one that manages the consumer experience. If you go to your office and someone does business with you, and they go and do some business and they ask someone to price a house, and they meet with 3 or 4 different people in your office, do you think they will get the exact same experience? Would they get the exact same information? Exact same advice at all? Could it be dramatically different one way or the other in your own office, right? So how much loyalty is there to the brand itself or to your company? Whether you're independent or a brand, it doesn't matter. How much loyalty is there? What's not managed is the consumer experience. The consumer experience is all that matters. And if you can't manage the consumer experience, then you really don't have a brand, okay? So the brokerages that are there, and we were there last year or the year before, it was the Gathering of the Eagles. It was the top 100, it was a Real Trends event, top 100 brokerages in America. I mean, these are the big guys. I mean, I'm talking like, thousands and thousands and thousands of agents. And they're just scratching their heads. And they're just like, they are just trying to figure out what are they going to do. It's a volume-based model. The more people you get, the more likely you are to survive. And I'll never forget, I met, he's a huge guy. I'm not going to even give his name, but he was one of the largest owners of Coldwell Banker independent franchises. And he was so excited about his business model. And his business model was based on, guess what percentage? 5. He was running all these offices on a margin of 5%. How do you run a business with 5% of the overall revenue? Not very easily. So when people start dropping off like flies, like they have, 400, I think Ryan Fletcher was sharing with some information with us yesterday, it was 450,000 agents that were no longer licensed in the last 12, 18 months. That's a lot. So when you start losing all these agents, what happens? These brands, these companies, independent or not, it doesn't matter, it starts becoming very hard to profit because you had 10,000 agents, now you have 4,000, whatever the case may be. So it's very challenging. So what's happened is this has been left up to us to figure out. We have to manage the consumer process, and the ones that have done it very well have built businesses that run very well and efficiently. So we're going to talk about that and some of the solutions it takes, but there's no way that a real estate company is going to go back to all their agents. They're going to be like, hey, all you 2,000 agents, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start implementing some new systems, and we're going to need you to take a cut in your split. What would you guys say? Peace. I'm going down the street. Because there's no value, right? If there was value, it'd be different. But what's the value they add? That's a question. It's a good one. Hopefully you're a broker. If you're a broker, hopefully you add a ton of value. And I could make that case for you as well. But it is something that to be thinking about. Okay, so the industry can't change. It can't change very easily. So here's the problem for us, is that we're positioned as a commodity. And Jack Welch in the book Winning, my advice to you, when you think strategy, think decommoditizing. Try desperately to make products and services distinctive and customers stick to you like glue. Think about innovation, technology, internal processes, services, add-ons, whatever it works to be unique. Okay, so that's Jack Welch's advice. And this was a quote in Real Trends in one of their newsletters a few years ago. Today's consumers are being much more assertive and discriminating with respect to their real estate buying and selling experience. Moving forward, customers are going to be much more knowledgeable about the real estate experience and increasingly aware of the relative skills and competencies of agents. And I believe that is already happening. There's, it's unfortunate, and I think we've all probably experienced this. How many of you have been on a listing appointment? You know in your heart and soul what needs to happen in order to sell this home, and you know that because you asked the right questions, what's going to happen if it doesn't sell is going to be not good. Yet, because they hope that the other agent was right, they listed it at a ridiculously higher price, and you didn't get the listing, and another agent listed that house, but you know in your heart and soul that it isn't going to sell. Has that ever happened to anyone in the last 12 months? Okay. It happens all the time. And what is the downside to that? What happens to that, could happen to that person? They lose their house in foreclosure, right? I think we've probably all experienced that. Thank you. So it's not a good thing to have to experience when you know and you really care. And I know everyone in this room cares. I know everyone in this room goes on an appointment and they genuinely do everything they can to convince that person that it's whatever that your advice you're giving them is the right advice. And unfortunately, there's agents out there that do 5 deals a year that are showing up and they're just trying to get the listing, and they don't even know what they don't know because they've only been trained for 90 hours at the maximum, and they're just freewheeling it because they're lucky because somebody knows them from church, and they are going to probably get this listing, but it's probably going to result in that family having to go through a foreclosure. That's a life-changing event that we are in control of, and because of our inability or our ability to be able to demonstrate our expertise and our knowledge, we can either influence that situation not to happen, or they may be trying to explain to one of their children why they're having a foreclosure and why they have to move one day, right? So, it's a powerful thing that we do if we do it right. So, is it possible that we could become irrelevant? Man, I don't like talking about it. I don't even like thinking about it. Okay, this is my livelihood. I do the same thing you do every day. So, looking at, some of the other industries that we've seen that have changed massively, Starbucks, Expedia, Home Depot, how did these, the small mom and pop shops, the record stores, all of these industries that have changed, specifically the most relative to real estate is the travel industry, right? How many of you call your travel agent to get here? Go ahead and raise your hand. Does anybody use their travel agent? Because some people probably did, right? Nobody. Nobody used a travel agent? What would that have been? 7, 8, 2 people. Thank you. So some of us might survive, right? The entire industry was wiped out because somebody added more service. It was a solution. It was innovative, and it was easier to use, and therefore an industry that literally just woke up one day and vanished completely. Could it happen to us? So we asked that question. I've already asked you, how much value do you really provide? Do you really believe that that buyer would write you a check? You really believe that? I believe they will. So these are some of the problems that I've been having in my business, and before we get into a little bit more detail, I want to make sure that you guys are having some of these same problems. Sellers being unrealistic with price. Is that possible? Are your buyers making ridiculous offers? What is that all about? Yeah, okay. Over and over and over, like they don't learn. Like they used to learn, like they make a dumb offer, they lose the house, and then they come back and make a good offer next time. No, they make ridiculous offers all the time. Are they staying on the fence, just not making a decision? Are your listings not selling because you can't get the seller to reduce the price? You get the listing, you evaluate the market, it's not getting showings or whatever needs to happen, they're not willing to reduce the price. Problems that you're having, right? Okay. This is where what it all boils down to and what we're talking about. How would you like, and this is about, we're going to talk about the objectives, the things that we do tactically, okay, in your business that you can do, but we're going to talk about strategically thinking about them differently, okay? This is a real important distinction to think about, okay? These are questions I want you to think about. Would you like to make your competition irrelevant? If there's a way for you to make your competition irrelevant in any of the processes that you have, would you like to be able to do that? Would you like to be able to improve the communication experience with your clients? Do you want to breed more loyalty towards you? Do you want to attract more clients over all of your competitors with every marketing effort? So every marketing piece that you do can generate more leads for you than your competitor if they were to spend the same amount of money. I'll give you an example, just a real quick example of that. Because we understand marketing, and Boomtown and Tiger Leads are both here, both great products. Who else is using Boomtown or Tiger Leads? Is it an amazing product? Unbelievable, life changer, game changer. So they're phenomenal, and the only challenge you'll have is that they may or may not be available in your marketplace. Unfortunately, that's how that product works. But one of the things that I learned is that because I know that my landing page converts better than my competitors in my marketplace, at the end of the day, I can spend $100 and drive traffic, but because 17% are converting to a lead, and my competitors putting their beautiful Parks Jones, I'm not picking on Parks Jones. They're a company in my marketplace that they do pay-per-click, and they're running it up right against us. And I laugh all day long because they're running an ad that essentially takes them to a page that converts at 1 to 3%, and I'm converting at 17%. So the cost per lead for me is so much lower because strategically I have a better landing page than they do, and it converts at a higher rate. I can afford to outspend them all day long. They will never, ever, ever be able to hang with us because we can just outspend them all day long. They're just spending way more for every single lead that they get. So they look at pay-per-click and they're like, this doesn't work, and they quit. So that's what happens, right? So we're going to talk about a lot of different ways to do that across 7 different areas in marketing. Would you like to be able to get the client to take immediate action when you meet with them? Is that something you would like to be able to strategically do when you're working with someone, buyer or seller? Do you want to become a celebrity in your market and be recognized everywhere you go? It's not so much about being recognized everywhere you go. That actually gets annoying. But it definitely is good to be a celebrity in your marketplace. What are you doing tactically to position yourself to accomplish these strategic objectives? So that's what we're going to show how to do that. So here's how you know you've made it. Okay, I'm so glad. I was actually going to allow them to play the video this year. Last year I said absolutely not. This is a picture that was in the Latin Constitution, and that's me dressed like John Travolta. And I got a call from the YMCA, and they had come up with this crazy idea that they wanted to do this thing called Dancing with the Stars, YMCA version, right? So, like an idiot, I said, sure, I'll do it. Like, does anybody do that? Like, just like, not even really thinking about it, but it's like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. That was the hardest freaking thing I've ever done in my life. I had to go to dancing class, like, for weeks. It was horrible. And I suck. I'm a horrible dancer. There's just no reason for me to ever say yes to that. They actually called me back, we would actually, the funny thing is we actually won. But it's a hilarious video. Fortunately, we don't have the video to share. But literally, I got called, thank you. I got called to be on Dancing with the Stars in my market, like I'm a star. So, that's what positioning does. So I'm going to get a drink here. So we're going to talk about creating a defining gap between us and the average real estate agent. Would you like to be able to accomplish all the things that we just talked about? We're going to do it today. It's really what I've done in my marketplace. It's like picking on little kids. Sometimes big kids. Consumers evaluate who they're doing business with and who they don't. Would you like to be positioned as an average agent or an expert advisor? Okay. So, who do you want to be? You want to be the average agent? You guess which one the average agent is, right? That's what I feel like sometimes we compete against sometimes. So, they're viewed just above a used car salesman. Their commissions are completely negotiable, right? The average real estate agent, completely negotiable. How many times do people just drop their pants on commission and when you compete against them? The better you get, you guys in the front row, the better you get, do they do that all the time? Like, this is the only way they know. They're like, oh, great, I got to compete against you again. All right, well, let me pull them down here. That's what happens. That's exactly what happens. And it's so funny. It's so funny because they have no value, and that's all it boils down to. And it's sad, but they really just need to get a job somewhere else out of this business, because not only are they just ineffective, but, we're talking about people's lives here. People that need to sell their home, and they have goals and dreams, and for whatever reason that they need to sell, they want to sell, either they're going to be successful or they're not going to be successful based on the advice you give them, and how you're positioned in their mind when you get there matters. It matters a lot. When I walk in the door, people act stupid sometimes. I'll never forget, I had a guy that literally was like, during my whole presentation, he was like tapping his feet, and I thought he was just worse ADD than me. And he's like, man, I gotta tell you, you sound just like you do on the radio. Like, freaked out. Like, he thought like I was literally some celebrity. And I was like, man, that's funny. That is just amazing. But that's what positioning does. So do you want to be positioned more? We want to be more positioned as a doctor or lawyer, am I right? We try to do that, but how do we do it when we're still sitting in the same cage with all of these other idiots? Okay? There has to be some differentiation. We have to create a defining gap that says this is not us, this is us. This is the difference, and this is who we are. Okay? So The average, you know, there's no respect, there's no trust. It's a part-time job for a lot of different people, only interested in the sale. You know, they don't have, and maybe they care, maybe they don't, whatever the case may be, but they genuinely just aren't professionals, right? We want to be highly knowledgeable, viewed as highly knowledgeable, have a celebrity type status, be trusted and respected, deep credibility. That goes a long ways. When people truly, deeply trust you and you're credible, it makes all the difference in the world. And let me tell you, one of the reasons that we get houses priced right, and the reason my houses and listings are selling, and the reason the buyers are making offers that are reasonable, and all of that is because of how we're positioned. They trust us. They trust the advice we're giving us. They look to us as professionals. You would never go to a doctor and say, listen, I know what you're going to tell me. I'll tell you what I want you to do. I want you to just open it up, and I want you to just start working on it, fix it today, and I'm out of here. What do? You sit and listen intently. Okay, you tell me what I need to eat. All right, okay, I'll do that. You do exactly what the doctor says, right? You don't question it. How many of our clients question us? We have to argue with them on price. Oh, you're the expert? Okay, here, let's switch places here. I'll just sit here and you tell them, you give me the presentation. They don't know anything. The seller doesn't know. The only thing they do is they have hope, right? They hope they're right. They hope that it's not what it is. That ain't the case today. The reality is it is what it is. The way that you demonstrate that matters. The way that you're positioned before you get there matters. What you say to them matters. And I'm going to show you everything that we have done and created that eliminates all of these objections, because it can be done. So the laws of branding. This is a great book. A branding campaign should create a defining gap between your services and the other cattle on the farm, especially if the other cattle look the same. You must create the perception that there is no other product or service quite like yours, or you will be subject to the market viewing you as a commodity. Is that not the boat we are sitting in today? The cattle on the range, I don't care what franchise you're with, do we all look the same? One may be more recognized than the other. We're all the same. We're not differentiated. There's no differentiation. There really isn't. So the 7 pillars of marketing, the ultimate goal of marketing is established top of mind. And these companies, there was a study, research reveals like $500 million worth of research was done on these companies who have literally the #1 brands in the world, not just in America, but in the world. Personal contact, direct mail, the internet, pre-marketing materials, advertising, public relations, and education to client. These are the pillars, okay? We're going to align your marketing. You have to align your marketing with a benefit-enriched slogan, okay? So everything that you do, through public relations, through educating your client, through your marketing materials that goes out, through your marketing on the internet, through direct mail, and through your personal contact, all has to align centrally with the most valuable thing that is that differentiates you from your competitors. Does that make sense? Everything. What's on your business card isn't different than what's on, on your marketing materials when you go out on a listing. What's on your billboard doesn't say something different than what you have on your webpage. Everything has to integrate and align vertically in order for things to work, okay? So this is all about client experience, and this is a huge aha for me, okay? Did not get this for the longest time. Used to, and Jay Abraham talks about USP. That's where we learned it originally. I think he's the father of the USP, the unique selling proposition. And we still run this campaign. This is a program, okay? Your home sold guaranteed or I'll buy it, okay? That is a unique selling proposition. It's a reason that people call, but it's not the reason people do business with me. Does that make sense? There's a difference. The whole world doesn't revolve around the guaranteed sale. It is just a program in my arsenal, okay? So then it became the unique value proposition. So our unique guaranteed sale system is a proven, repeatable system to sell your home for up to 18% more money than the methods of traditional real estate agents. Is that valuable? If you said that to a seller, do you think that they might be interested in hearing about it? I promise you they will be. Every single time. Well, I'm going to show you that. Does it sound unbelievable? Does anybody think that sounds unrealistic? Come on, it sounds unbelievable. Okay, I'm going to show you by the end of this presentation, and if not this evening, the presentation right before the Sambuca party, I'm going into greater detail on this, and we'll cover it in a lot more detail, okay? So we may not have time to go through it all in this one, but we literally have cracked the code on how to differentiate ourselves, number one, and be able to speak that to the seller, and then also be able to show them without a shadow of a doubt and prove to them that you can show them that their home is potentially can sell for up to 18% more than the methods of traditional real estate agents. There's over 80 different variables in the home selling process. You can either proactively manage those variables or you cannot, but your choice to do that is going to ultimately dictate whether your home sells high, sells middle, or sells low. Does that make sense? It's the principle of price elasticity. The variables involved in the home selling process dictate whether your home sells here. Do homes sell in your marketplace for top dollar still? Do your home sell at the bottom? Way below value. So that range that homes can sell in are all based on principles. Okay, I didn't know what principles were. For the longest time, I did not understand this. But when you look at the principles involved in whether a home sells or not, there are factors that are within your control and factors that aren't within your control. They can be proactively managed to help your home sell for the most amount of money. And if you avoid them or you don't manage those principles or you ignore them, ultimately it can cause your home to sell for much less money. And that's where the 18% comes from, and it's all broken down into those principles, and we're going to show you that. Pretty cool? Okay, so talking about personal contact. So if you align yourself with this, and we're going to run through these quickly. For sale by owner, if you talk to a for sale by owner, you say, hey, we have a proven repeatable system to help you sell your home for up to 18% more money. Would you like for me to tell you more about how that works? How many people are going to respond favorably versus, hey, do you want to list your house? That's not a good strategy. A good strategy is, listen, we have a proven repeatable system where we can show you how to sell your home for up to 18% more money. Would you like for me to show you how that works? If I can help you net more money than you are by doing it for sale by owner, would you be open to talking to me about that? So personal contact, everything you say matters. If you talk to 10 for sale by owners and you say that, you're going to get more appointments than if you say, hey, do you want to list your house? Would you agree? Yes or no? Okay. So this is one of the ways to vertically integrate, and we're going to show you all of the meat that goes on the bone with this, and how it works. But if you make phone calls to an expired, you are going to convert at a higher rate. You are going to convert at a higher rate with for sale by owners, especially if you can back it up with an experience that matches what your promise is. A promise doesn't mean anything. It's whether you can actually deliver that matters, okay? And I'll show you how to deliver. So public relations, this is a big part of what we do. I didn't know what we were doing when we were doing this, but we just, we did a lot of press releases. A lot of the things we're going to show you actually everything I show you, we're going to show you how to do exactly, like literally almost push, not quite push button yet, but we're going to show you how to almost push button and have everything it is that we've done, because that's what our goal has always been, is to try to make this stuff easier for you guys to duplicate, because this part is getting to be the hard part. So public relations, we send a lot of this stuff to, there's a lot of ways to do public relations, and I'm just going to get right to it. These are just some examples of some of the ones that I've done. Relationships that have been created. At K-Law, Matt Wagner's in the room with radio and television experts. One of the guys that helped me to really propel my business to the next level. At a certain point in your business, it's time to think about radio. It may not be. For most people, it's not that time. Okay, but there is a point in time that it makes sense. And it is highly profitable, and is one of the reasons that I became a celebrity in my marketplace, literally. But when it comes to building relationships with the PR person at the radio station, building relationships with Channel 7, the newspaper. If you're building relationships with those people, news is placed most of the time. I don't know if you guys, I think that's coming up on one of the, there should be some notes for one of these. Am I going the wrong way now? I need to go backwards. It's going the wrong way. Go back one more. I thought I had some talking points. Maybe I don't. Okay, so the relationships that we create, these are some resources that you're going to want to write down. Pitchrate.com, PR Newswire, Help a Reporter Out. They're all looking for stories and different things from experts in the industry. So you can literally submit whatever it is they're looking for, and submit different things and end up in tons of different publications and use this PR in your marketing. And I'll show you how we do that here in a second. So internet marketing obviously is a huge part of our business. We're going to show you we're probably not going to show you today exactly, but having multiple landing pages, Web Agent Solutions is here. They have a solution that we use currently. We are helping to kind of create some other solutions for some of the marketing that we do. If you're going to be marketing to for sale by owners, marketing to expireds, marketing to your past clients, marketing to niches, having different, having different landing pages to convert that lead, but it has to integrate vertically with everything you're doing. So no different than public relations. It's all aligning. Everything should align. Everything that you do and say should all align. The same thing with those web pages. But having different web pages to convert. Direct response. This is a huge part of the business. And like Mike and I test a lot of stuff, and luckily we don't share all the stuff that doesn't work, but there's a lot. Direct mail is a very difficult nut to crack. It's very hard for you to spend the money in direct mail and get the return on investment. And there's one thing I want you to understand about everything that we teach you, and this should help you when making good decisions with everything that you're going to go back and integrate back into your business. The cash conversion factor is the most important thing that I never paid attention to. Okay, when you start a phishing campaign, it may take you 8 months to get paid back to broke even. Does that make sense? So you start marketing these neighborhoods, and you say, okay, I'm committed to $2,000 a month for this, marketing to maybe how many ever homes you're going to mail to, and then after about month 4, you haven't closed a deal, and you're like, oh crap, this is not good. I thought we'd be making money by now. So if you don't think about the cash conversion, like if you got to be able to light a match to $8,000, $10,000 before that campaign is going to start getting paid back and start really being rewarding. Unfortunately, in real estate, that's what happens. And I made this mistake with a $10,000 investment, believe it or not. I learned everything the hard way. Okay, I did TV at $10,000 a pop, and I was like, shoot, I'm going to do TV, and I'm going big. So I did $10,000 a month commitment. I'm running TV. $80,000 later, I'm like, it's like sucked all the cash out of my business, and I'm like, this was a bad idea. I had a whole bunch of listings, you know what I'm saying, and I had a whole bunch in pending, and I just started to get close to break even with it. So it was just starting to get broke even, but I wasn't prepared for it. If somebody said, are you willing to light a match to $80,000? I would have said, no, no, I'm not ready to do that. I was thinking, month to month. I was spending $10,000. That's all I really had mentally accepted. But the reality was the cash conversion, when I was going to be paid back for the marketing effort, was so much longer away that I didn't think about that, okay? That's really important to think about when you're doing things in your business and you make any kind of investment. When is that return going to happen? When should you expect that to happen? That is a big mistake that I see a lot of agents make. I made it, and I learned it the hard way, but it's very important that you make that distinction when you're looking at, I need to make money tomorrow. Going after listings is not always the answer. It's going to be going after buyers. Why? Because buyers close immediately. They don't sit on the market for 4 or 5 months. Make sense? So when it comes to strategy and you say, I'm broke, going out and calling for sale by owners tomorrow is not the #1 strategy. Right? Make sense? It's amazing how many times we skip past that. I promise you, it is a big deal. And I'm going to have to roll quickly here. So there was the direct response. Backwards. Is this thing not work? Megan's in control. I like that. All right. Can I just put it down? Okay, so So the keys to direct response. Okay. First of all, I want to say this. This is another phrase that I'm coining. If you can't afford to track, you cannot afford to advertise. Period. I've wasted more money than any of you combined on stuff that doesn't work. I promise. Because I didn't track anything. I didn't know what was going on. I tried everything. I mean, literally, Mike and I did a webinar a long time ago where we shared all the stupid things that we've done. Was anybody on that webinar where we shared all the stupid things, that grocery cards? Like, Mike did grocery cards. Who does grocery cards? We did everything stupid you can imagine. So there's a lot of things that don't work. And you want to make sure that you can track the results. If you can't track the results, you can't afford to advertise, okay? So it must catch the eye quickly. Headlines must tell you what you are selling in under 2 seconds and must contain a benefit. Be sure to use you and your, which is, I'll show you here in a second how we integrate all of this into all of our marketing. So a lot of thought goes into everything that we create because it has to be all this stuff, right? So market data is more compelling than product data. It's a huge distinction. Secret is the force multiplier. Jay Abraham teaches a principle called the force multiplier. The force multiplier is a military term that essentially says attacking by air, by sea, by water, sneak attack. And Jay is way more animated when he tells this, and it's much more interesting. But it's having that force multiplier on the prospect. If you're going to call an expired and then you mail them as well, you will have a much greater impact on the target than just one or the other. Does that make sense? It's a combined effect. So when we look at the things that we do, it's not just like start calling for sale by owners. But if you start calling for sale by owners, you start mailing for sale by owners, you put door hangers on their door, and you hit them with email because you got their email when you called them the first time, because that's part of your strategy. And you vertically integrate all of your benefits to how you can help them do business. Do you see how you might get a greater result with working for sale by owners? Does that make sense? You will have a much greater impact. So before you move on, it's about creating oil wells in your business. What you want is when you leave the for sale by owner, it don't stop pumping oil for your business. You want it to continue to run. Okay, this is a hard thing for us to grasp because we're entrepreneurs. We like to jump on to the next thing, right? But you got to build a system in your business that runs like an oil well. Then you move on, you build another oil well. Then you move on, you build another oil well. Before you know it, you're no longer having to work as hard in your business. You're doing the things that you want to do. You're doing the things that are more dollar productive, and you have a life. You don't just go do for sale by owners and do a little bit of this, do a little bit of that. You integrate, you go a mile deep, not a mile wide. It's a really important distinction. If you get that and you build out a campaign that is a system that has a maximum impact on the target, you will have the ultimate success with whatever that area may be, whether it's your raving fan club or your past clients, or your mailing to the Chamber of Commerce, or whatever niche it is that you're implementing next in your strategy. That's important. And I know I got it already. So this is a pre-marketing piece. I'm going to talk more about this this evening. These are things that we've done that goes out ahead of time. I'm also going to share with you a video. One of the things that we wanted to create was something that allowed us to be able to replace me on the listing side of the business. The last thing in your business, and I know there's several people in the room that have gotten to this point where they've hired a listing partner, right? Lars is one of them. And Clayton, I don't know if you've got to the point. I know that you've talked about it a little bit. But when it comes down to replacing yourself in your business, you get 100% of your commission dollar, right? So when it gets to the point where you're leveraging yourself to this point, you have to be able to give something to them that's pretty compelling, that kind of helps tell the story. Otherwise, the agent has to be really, really good. That's what I found. I failed 3 times trying to back out of my business to do this, to share all this with you. But I had to go back in my business because it didn't work. And I got sucked back in 3 different times. I tried it 3 different times, it failed. But we finally cracked the code to how do we create a presentation that's so valuable, that makes the value visible, that I can have anyone give that presentation and immediately the seller is just as compelling as if I was there giving the presentation. So we actually created also a video that goes out prior to, that makes the case where just about anybody can show up and get the listing the same way I used to. That replaces the need for my knowledge and skill set, because the presentation, the video pre-sells everything. If you can get someone to watch the video, anybody can get the listing. Is that exciting? That's what we're going to show you this evening. Very cool stuff. So I'm telling you, it is a game changer, So we listed like, I don't even know, 32 houses or something like that last month. You know how many listing appointments I went on? 0. You know how many times I went in the office this year? John, how many days do you think I stepped foot in the office? Less than 30. It's a business now. Okay, so this is something that, again, it's way more profitable if I'm there. Don't mistake what I'm saying. It's profitable now, but it's not near as profitable as when I'm there. Okay, you can build all these systems out. You got to have a plan and a business model, but it is definitely something that can be done. So, and it just makes all the case for you. So, educate your clients. Market data is more powerful than product data. This is the guaranteed sales system. It doesn't look like much, but I'm going to blow you away this evening when we go through this. Educating them to the difference between the average real estate agent and the expert advisor. We are no longer going to be viewed as a real estate agent ever again. Does anybody see the value in not being seen as a real estate agent? Okay. It's a big, big deal. It's a big differentiation factor that with the tools, okay, and we've been through a lot, right? Who all's got your CRS? Who all's got your GRI? Who all has more letters that nobody else knows what they mean? How much value? I learned a lot. I met a cool dude in the CRS course. I learned a lot. How many deals have I gotten from it? I got it in 2001. I was in a CRS course when the Twin Tower, when 9/11. I was in the last of my CRS courses in Dallas when that happened. And I think I haven't seen a transaction, maybe one referral that was related to a CRS referral from that. I'm a certified residential what? No, I'm not. I'm just another cattle on the range. That's all that is. It doesn't differentiate you. So it's important to be able to create that defining gap, separate ourselves from the pack. So using market research as proof, we're going to get into this a lot tonight, so you can scroll through those. We're going to get into this way deep, so we're going to go a mile deep into this, and you're going to see a lot more of the examples of I would call the meat on the bone with this presentation, how it aligns with video, how it aligns with sales pages, how it aligns with the magazine. I don't know if we have a magazine I can just really quickly show. No? Okay, so we'll show you that tonight. We'll show you the actual physical pieces. But I mailed this out to my entire chamber, the entire Chamber of Commerce, which is a list that I market to. And I highly recommend that you build influence over that list and position yourself as an expert, because I did it in the year 2000 when I was 20 years old. And the difference that it made was my biggest challenge was I was a kid in the business. I looked like I was there to mow the yard. I didn't look like I was there to sell their house. They didn't believe that I was going to pay you what? You want $15,000 in commissions? I was a kid. They didn't trust me. They didn't respect me. They didn't respect what I said. I had to find, and I missed it. It was by an accident. But I became positioned as an expert by doing a market study that I mailed out to the entire Chamber of Commerce. My dad probably remembers that because it cost like $1,100 and he thought I was crazy. And I remember I made it, and whoever it was that helped me make it was like in Word, and it was the most ridiculous looking thing I've ever seen. It was so horrible. It was like design-wise, it was just cheesy. But like I started getting phone calls from appraisers, and they started looking at me different. I'm not just the kid anymore. I'm the young gun. I'm the expert. So that positioning was huge for me growing my business, and we just compounded upon it, compounded upon it, compounded upon it. And what we're going to share with you this evening is something that's going to change the way we do business forever. It's going to change the way every single one of us do business, because it enables you to be positioned completely differently where the seller looks at you as if you are a trusted advisor, you're an expert. And market research is a big part of that. Market research is a huge part of that. When it comes down to it, and who all heard me give this presentation? I know most of you guys in Elite that were on the webinar when you were talking about, you have all these market reports. Anybody have any examples that they've been on an appointment where they had a seller that, through all of this market data, they immediately aligned with you as far as being an expert? Does it make a difference? Market data is everything. You want to be viewed as an expert? I just want you to listen to me. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go through about 50 of these reports until I see the look in your eyes that's glassed over, and then I know that I know more than you do. That's honestly all that matters. Once you know I know more than you, now I can tell you what you need to do. I know that my advice is the right advice. Do you all know your advice is the right advice? Okay. That's important. It's a very important part of the process. We're going to go through it tonight. I've gone over. I apologize, and I'm very excited for the next guy that's coming up.